Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's now 10:02, and it looks like we have a good turnout of members and guests. Welcome, everybody, to the March 4th Homeless Solutions Task Force. Glad to see so many people here. This is great. Look forward to some good discussions today. For those that have an agenda, we will be following the agenda with the exception I'm going to move the mayor's welcome up just a little bit. Initially, I do want to just go through the roster for the members here. I can see many of you on the screen, but I want to make sure that I capture everybody. So I'm going to go through the roster, then I'm going to turn over to the mayor for his welcome, and then we will also do some additional recognition of some of our new members here. So hang tight on that. So Kate Allen, I think I did see you here, so I will acknowledge that. Amy, I saw you. Jonah, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, thanks, Jonah. Mike Davis, one of our new members, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay. Alan Evans?
Alan's in another meeting.
Okay, thanks, Raven. Sean Fitzpatrick?
I'm here.
Okay, Kenny, I see you here. Sarah Lou? Okay, I don't see. Was that you, Sarah Lou?
Yes.
Okay, I see you. Thank you. Jennifer Holland, are you there?
Yes, yeah, is here.
Okay.
Jennifer. Yes.
Okay. Jared, I did see you.
Yep, I'm here.
Arlene, I do see you. Tom, I see you. Melissa Linder? Annie Martin?
Here.
Okay. Vivian, I saw you. Lisa McLean?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Jan Peacher? Okay, Cindy, I know couldn't make it. David Reed, I saw you. Councillor Rock, I saw you. Raven, I see you. I see myself. Brooke, I did see you, I think.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Monica, got you. Terry, I see you. And Kathleen Sullivan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, guys. Yeah, great turnout. All right, Mayor, I'll turn it over to you for your welcome and comments, and then we'll get started.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. It's our first meeting since August, so about 6.5 months, I believe. So I know there are a few new people to the group, a few new positions. So just briefly, a little history of the host. It was founded by Mayor Lemire during her tenure, at least about 3 years ago, I guess. And Chief Spalding has been the chair of it since then. The purpose of the host is really, it's a coordination and communication body, because there, as you can see by the faces on your screen, there's so many different organizations and individuals and groups that are dealing with some aspect of issues involving homelessness. We thought it would be beneficial to meet periodically, share information, share ideas, hopefully occasionally eliminate some redundancy, and maybe take advantage of some opportunities that someone might not have known about before. Basically, you have this many different organizations involved in some aspect of a complex issue. It's probably a good idea to get together periodically and share information. And even between meetings, we can do so by email as well. So that's the premise of this group. The homeless liaison position that you'll hear more about today, that is an example of an idea that was brought to this group by group members, discussed by the group, found broad support among most of the group members, not unanimously, but the vast majority of the group has supported the homeless liaison position. And then finally, and most importantly, member organizations of the host volunteered to assume the sponsorship role and find the funding for the position. And so, sharing information and then ideally sponsoring new ideas and funding new ideas. There's some other issues that the host is dealing with, some of which you'll hear about today, that ideas that have support by the group but have not yet found sponsors or funding to become real. And so we'll talk more about that with some of those ideas as well. But I have found it very helpful for myself, at least, to hear what everyone is working on And I'm looking forward to hearing more, especially about the homeless liaison position today. We're going to hear from Ms. Steele from the county about the county's new strategic plan goal, which identifies a drop-in center as one of a navigation drop-in center as one of the strategic goals for Clatsop County and how that might move forward. I do want to mention one new bit of news from the city. Parks Director Jonah Dart-McLean, who's part of the meeting today, was successful in obtaining a grant from the state for a series of improvements on the river trail, including lighting and signage and a Portland loo. So restroom facilities for people in Astoria, whether they're homeless or not. Restroom facilities has been a big issue that we've struggled with. And this is a matching grant, but the bulk of the money will come from the state with additional funding from the city. And the Portland loo is going to be built at the People's Park. That's the one right across from Moe's. It'll essentially be right where the two porta potties are now. There'll be a Portland loo. So we're very excited about that. And then finally, I want to note for our first meeting of 2021 that we've been very fortunate to have Chief Spalding as our chair for several years. And he has very willingly taken on that role and the workload associated with it. There is nothing that says that in perpetuity, the host needs to be led by either the police chief or a staff member from the city of Astoria. So sometime during this year, we're going to look to transition to give Chief Spalding a break for his many other duties and find other leadership for the host. So if you have someone you'd like to nominate or would like to volunteer, let us know. And we'll, in the meantime, continue to enjoy Chief Spalding's excellent leadership. So thanks for coming, and I'll turn it back to the chief.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that and appreciate your comments as well. By way of introduction, let me bring up my other screen here real quick. And go. So first off, bear with me on this technology thing. It's I'm still learning and I'm also multitasking. So just asking for your forgiveness through that. First off, I'm sharing my email address. So this is for any of the guests in the room. Typically when we have our in-person meetings, I'm able to put a roster out there or a sign-up sheet so that you can be added to notification for future meetings. So please write down my email address. And if you're not already on the list, in other words, if you haven't received a couple emails in the last few days regarding this meeting, then shoot me an email with your email address and I'd be more than happy to add you to our guest list. That way I'll be able to send you notifications about future meetings. And I also apologize for the last minute notice of this meeting for our guests. I only sent it 2 days ago. I was under the misunderstanding that this meeting was posted to the city calendar. So that will happen in the future. So I'll do better about making sure that everybody has more notice. So hang in there on that. And that's much appreciated. Just new members, Councillor Roger Rocca is with us today. Thank you, Councillor. And Mike Davis, who Raven is going to introduce in just a little bit here from Helping Hands. So, but in the meantime, I'll get back to our formalities and going down our agenda. We are looking for one of our members to make a motion to approve the minutes.
This is Amy. I so move.
Okay, thank you, Amy. And a second?
Kate Allen, I'll second.
Yeah, I heard Kate Allen second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor by saying aye. You'll have to unmute real quick.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think I heard the ayes. The motion carries. Thank you. So what I'd like to do real quick, though, before we move into some of the presentations is just talk a little bit about some of the protocols for this meeting, especially now that we've moved into the virtual world. And I know I see a lot of new faces, so I just want to make sure that everybody kind of understands how these meetings have gone. First off, we are having minutes taken by Megan McCall from CCA. Thank you, Megan. Really appreciate you doing that for us. This meeting is being recorded, and I believe it can be made available if anybody would like to see it afterwards or share it with somebody. And I would also encourage anybody to, if you have any questions at all, just make sure you contact me, and I'd be more than happy to do what I can to get you some of these the minutes. This, as the mayor mentioned, this is our, we've been meeting since November of 2017. And one of the very first things we did at our very first meeting was come up with a name for our group. And a lot of names were tossed around, but the one that stuck was the Homeless Solutions Task Force. And to me, the one key word in that title is solutions. And that was called out by one of the members at the time who said, we're here to look for solutions and not just to talk about things. I will say that there has been some criticism about what we've accomplished in the last 3 years, and I think a lot of the criticism is justified. This is a very difficult problem to solve. There are lots of different ideas floating around in terms of what we should do, and they're on both sides of the spectrum in terms of how we address the topic of homelessness. So it is challenging. We are going to be talking about one of our significant accomplishments today. And what I've said in the past, and I continue to believe, is the relationships that we developed and formed have been, at least to me, have been extremely invaluable and have gone a long way towards addressing some of these concerns. But also, as the mayor mentioned, I look forward to giving somebody else an opportunity to take over the reins at some point down the road. Told the mayor I'm happy to hang in there as long as he'd like me to, but for whatever reason, my real job here seems to be getting busier all the time, and I'd like to be able to spend more time with this, but it's becoming more difficult. So I do appreciate other people considering yourself or somebody else down the road. The core group of members that I called off in the beginning are approved by the mayor. And the members are the ones that will vote. So if there's an item that needs to be voted on, it would be only as a member voting. The members are generally part of the discussions. We don't want to exclude any opinions from anybody, whether you're a member or a guest. But what I've found is in our previous meetings that all of our meetings seem to go up until the end, and even then we don't seem to cover everything we'd like to. So we do have to be careful in terms of limiting the time. So conversation topics are open to members, but if we're moving along pretty rapidly, then we will open it up to guests as well if you'd like to weigh in on a particular topic. But I will say that there will be time at the end of the meeting. We will make sure there's time so that guests will have an opportunity to speak to make sure that you have a chance to be heard. There is also an opportunity in the program here for those that are familiar with it or not, is the chat area. You can enter a comment in there. If you can simply say, I'd like to be able to say something at some point, or if you'd like to enter a comment, I'd be happy to share that with the group. So I think that's it for the protocols. So with that being said, just moving down, I'm going to move to Raven. If you would like to introduce Mike and maybe just share anything that's going on with Helping Hands.
Thank you, Chief. Hi, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Raven Russell, and I'm the Director of Data and Major Projects for Helping Hands. And I had the great pleasure of spending a whole lot of time in Clatsop County because I grew up in Seaside until I recently moved about a year ago to Portland to manage our big expansion project here at the Bybee Lakes Hope Center. We had a change in staffing. Elizabeth Katesh decided to move back to the Midwest to be closer to her family. She has a little 1-year-old niece that her brother is raising, and so she really wanted to be close to the family. So we went through a hiring process and found Mike Davis, and Mike is joining us here today. He's going to be joining this task force as well, and will be actively participating here. So hopefully in a post-COVID world, you'll get a chance to actually meet him in person and shake his hand. But Mike comes to us with some great experience in development and fundraising with the Oregon Food Bank. And so we're really excited to have his help as we grow and evolve as a nonprofit. So that's our update with Mike and joining this board. We also had some other changes in our regional office, and we moved our main office from Seaside to Gearhart. So when you're driving down the highway, you'll see our sign on the road. You can honk and wave. But all of our referrals are now going through Justin and Denise for the Astoria facility. So you should have their phone numbers, but anybody that does not, I'd be happy to help connect you. Really exciting update since it's been a while since we met is that we now have only 3 beds open at the Astoria facility. We had a dip for a while where we were not able to take new referrals into our emergency shelter as we figured out how to keep everybody safe in group living through COVID. So we're really happy to say that in all 5 counties that we serve, we've only had 3 positive cases for COVID, and that they did not trickle out and infect a whole facility, which we're really grateful for. Those 3 cases were in Astoria. So we're really proud of our staff that's doing a great job with the cleaning protocols to keep everybody safe. And so that's our little general update here, but everything is going really well with social distancing within the facility and masking and all the pre-screening protocols we've got. So thank you so much to our community partners that stuck with us through some changes, and figuring out how to navigate pandemic in group living has been a bit of a rodeo. So we're really grateful for everybody coming along with us and figuring out how to do this safely.
Great. Thanks, Raven. I appreciate that. And Mike, welcome aboard, and I look forward to an opportunity to sit down and meet with you and chat. So welcome to the group.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's see here. So Lisa McLean, well, let me back up just a second. Does anybody have any questions for Raven?
Congratulations.
Thanks, Pat.
Actually, it's Tom. I'm using her
Tom.
computer.
Oh, you're on Pat's login.
Okay, I know it. Yeah.
All righty. Lisa McLean from Public Health.
Hi, good morning. I'm sorry I'm not on the Zoom call, but I ran out from one phone call over onto this, so I apologize. So just quickly, for public health right now, we're really kind of in the middle of our COVID vaccine task force and doing those events right now. They're 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and we did just receive our first shipment of the Johnson & Johnson 1-dose vaccine. So we will be looking at how we're going to utilize that. We do have on our agenda, as we expand our outreach, how we are going to reach the homeless, and we've got some ideas that definitely on our radar, and we'll be utilizing our Johnson & Johnson vaccine for that outreach. And that's about, our office is opened, and we're probably going to be starting to ramp up more appointments there. We had a pretty successful flu outreach. We went to the warming shelter. We did through our harm reduction program, and we're able to reach a lot of people with that. So we felt pretty good. So hopefully we'll use that same type of outreach as we set forth with the COVID vaccine too. So we will be out reaching out to those people out on the street and such.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate the update. Any questions of Lisa?
Lisa, this is Kathleen Sullivan at the Astoria Warming Center, and I just want to offer again our facility to vaccinate our population. We were very happy about the flu clinic, and we felt it was a big success. So thank you.
Thank you. That has been brought up a couple times. So I will be reaching out to you as soon as we're to that spot where we've got enough vaccine that we can offer that.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Lisa. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Viviana Matthews from CCA to talk about the great news about the liaison position. Viviana, you may be muted. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yep.
Sorry, my mic was off. I'm so sorry. Do I have to start over?
You do, actually.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. It's Viviana Matthews out of CCA. And after many months of working with our countywide liaison position, we have found two very good candidates that will start with us on April 1st. We have enough fundings for the first year to hire two very outstanding candidates. We went through a very long process of interviewing. We had about 20 different applicants for the position, and our HR department selected about 4 of those to be interviewed by some members from the host, such as Chief Spaulding and Monica Steele. And we interview 4 candidates, and then we have decided, because of the fundings, that we are able to hire 2 people that will start on April 1st. And as I mentioned before, it's a county-wide position, so they are going to see Clatsop County and be working with partner agencies and be working with houseless individuals here in Clatsop County. And I'm comfortable to say that I'm comfortable with sharing their names with you. One of them is Cheryl Paul, who has been working for the Astoria Warming Center for the last 5 years, and she's been Astoria resident for the past 6 years, and she has a lot of experience with a houseless, unsheltered, homeless population here in Astoria, and she's also familiar with some of them in Seaside. She has a lot of knowledge on partner agencies, but still she will go through training on partner agencies and what services we can offer to our unsheltered population. And the other candidate is Shannon Turner, and she has worked in social services for about 4 years in Texas. She will be moving from Texas to Clatsop County. She's actually moving this coming weekend. And she has worked with marginalized population, unsheltered individuals, and people with mental illness. And Shannon also was instrumental in opening a recovery shelter in Texas. So she's very familiar with policies and procedure. And her father is a police officer, or was he a chief in Texas? So she can see different sides of the issue. And we are looking into having an advisory committee, and the 2 employees will be working under CCA. They are going to be CCA employees, but we're still going to have an advisory committee, and we are going to reach out to city councils and county commissioners to see if they would like to be part of the advisory committee to oversee the not necessarily the HR aspect of the homeless liaison, but see their work throughout the county. And Monica and Chief Spaulding, am I missing anything?
I'll just add that the advisory committee is still a work in progress. And in addition to reaching out to cities and counties, as we grow this program and we add new financial partners too, we will definitely be looking to add individuals to the advisory committee outside of the government entities. So look forward to having more partners in this on many levels to make sure that we have as much input as possible. So, and Vivian, I'd like to thank you personally for all the work you put into this, and also thank the subcommittee consisting of you, Viviana, Jared, Tom, Terry, Raven, and Monica from the group here that put a little time in, coming up with, some of the ideas and putting this program together. So again, I think it's a significant accomplishment, and just reiterate that this is going to be a work in progress. And I think this program will probably look very different 2 years from now than it will be today. And we will learn from this, and also we will track our progress and see how effective the program is in our community, which is what I think a lot of people will be looking for. So with that, I'll turn over to Monica if you have anything to add to that.
I would just add also thanks to Viviana in regards to being able to make this 2 full-time positions. I think we all knew from the beginning that there's more work than one person can handle. And so from a funding perspective, Viviana really went out and tried to find additional funding so that when we had 2 good candidates come before us, that we were able to hire both of them. And so I think kudos to her on that as well, because I think there's going to be a lot of great work. And again, like Chief Spalding said, we know that this is going to evolve as we move forward. And so how this position looks now versus how it might look in 2 to 5 years is going to change.
Thank you, Monica. And Raven, I think I saw your hand up. Was that a misfire?
Nope, I was clapping.
Oh,
but
okay.
I think I see Sarah Lou's hand up.
That's what that means. Okay, Sarah Lou.
Yeah, so exciting that this is coming to fruition. Congratulations, y'all. I kind of had maybe the ironic ponderance, which was with being able to hire 2 and somebody coming in from out of town, do we think that this person is going to be able to find a place to live?
So yes, that's a really good question. It has been a challenge finding a place for this person, but we are working really hard for her to obtain housing within the next week. We have a really good, CCA has really good relationship with a lot of different landlords. So we might be able to find her something. She has a friend who lives in the area. So she's going to start to live with a friend until she finds something. But I'm hoping that she will be moving to her place in Seaside by next week or so. I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, but I just want to reiterate that the person working for the most connected housing provider in the county making a living wage is having a really hard time finding a place. Is that true?
Absolutely true. Yes, and it has been a team of really, good qualified case management, trying to find her a place for her and her daughter. It has been a challenge. We've been looking for over 2 weeks now, and finally we have penciled something down, but it's not 100% sure until she moves in.
Cool. My other was a question. So will these 2 staff people be, if we have a person in crisis, will we be able to call these folks for assistance, or is that outside of the scope?
So that's why the advisory committee will come into place. We have to still work on aspect of that. We just don't want the homeless liaison will have their own cell phone, their own computer system, and all of that. So we just want to make sure that all the partner agencies have their information. And it will be something similar to the RARA. Is that RARA from CVH? Something similar to that.
Yeah, I would just add that we know that part of this training process is that these individuals are going to have to get to know our law enforcement agencies as well as our CVH members. And so working with them, because again, we want to make sure that when people are calling any agency, that they're calling them for the right type of response. And we don't want to put these individuals in a situation that they're not prepared for. And so it's going to be kind of to speak to the training aspect that Viviana mentioned. It's not just going to be training for these individuals. It's going to be training for the different agencies to know who should be getting called.
So again, a work in progress. And just as a reminder that this position is, for those of you that heard the presentation from Gresham's Kevin Dahlgren, it's going to be similar to that, but not the same. In Gresham, that's actually works for the city directly and for the police department. This is not designed to be an enforcement function. It's to help get people into services, although they will work very closely with the police departments and county sheriffs. I would hope that someday we will get to a place where they will be able to respond to certain types of homeless related calls. And the police department isn't responding to those calls. So that remains to be seen. So stay tuned on that front. David, I saw your hand up.
very briefly, thank you everybody who made this happen. I think this is one of the, has potential to be one of the best things that's come out of this group. It's a lot of work. As you pointed out, it's more work than one person can do. The truth is it's more than two people can do, especially if we as a committee, as a group, try to put too much on them. So that steering committee, that advisory committee is going to be essential in defining what that role is really responsible for, what it's capable of, so that we're not really just kind of turning everything over and saying, great, we've got liaisons, so the problem is solved.
Thank you, David. And as a note of correction here, I thought that this particular Zoom product had a chat room. It doesn't appear that it does, so I apologize for that. So I sit corrected. And if anybody would like to speak at some point, just raise your hand and I will try to catch that. So any other questions for Viviana or about the program in general that hopefully one of us can answer? Chief Ham.
Hi, thanks everybody. I wasn't at all familiar with these positions coming in for whatever reason. And so you kind of touched on it, but is there just a real brief couple of sentences of what the expectations of these people are when they're out there doing? I know they're going to be working with us, but for me to kind of go back to my boss and talk a little bit about these positions coming online, it'd be nice to know just a little bit more of a snapshot of what we should be expecting.
Yeah, and Chief, I'll turn it over to Viviana, but I will say that, even though they're going to be hired April 1st, that's still a month out. And then they're going to be at least a month internally in training where they'll be spending time learning the systems of CCA and going around and forming relationships. So we definitely aren't going to throw them to the wolves. They've got at least a couple months. And during that time, we will be putting together information that we can share with all the stakeholders, and obviously including you and anybody else, how they will be used in what capacity, what the expectations are of them. So that is all coming. Our announcement today is not necessarily premature, but just to let everybody know that we're still working on some of those things, and we wanted to make sure that this group heard first before the press release goes out.
Yeah, we want it to be as successful as possible, especially with people that are coming out of town. When I meant the homeless liaison that is going to be coming out of town. The homeless liaison committee, that it's myself, Jared, Tom, Terry from the Harbor, Raven, and Monica, we worked really hard for a few months on getting the homeless liaison position, the job description, which I'll be more than happy to share that with everybody. So everybody has kind of a sense what the homeless liaison will be doing here in Clatsop County. But essentially it will be connected with the police departments, making sure that the homeless people know of services that they might qualify here in Clatsop County. One of the goals is for them to be connected with services. The other one is not to utilize the ED as much as we have. That people just need to be connected with insurance company instead of going to the ED for every little thing. So there's some things there.
Okay. Any questions back to that? Anybody else? If you do the hand raise thing, and I will try to recognize that.
And Chief Spalding, you do have the most recent job description, don't you? Do you mind sending that out to the group?
I will definitely do that.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any questions at this point, so
I do want to say though that homelessness is not just the issue of homelessness is not just people want to be on the street. Housing, it's a huge issue where we have so many people who are homeless. So we just have to remember that we do have these two positions coming up, but we're not going to be able to solve the homelessness issue of finding housing. I mean, we'll do the best we can, but please remember the housing inventory, it's extremely low, kind of non-existent right now. So please keep that in mind. The housing, it's our number one issue.
And this is Monica, and I would just add, that, and as you all know, I mean, this is not anything new to you, but homelessness looks different for everybody. And so the whole idea behind these positions right now is, because we have such a housing inventory crisis, is getting these individuals connected to the services. So that way they're able to be one step closer if housing does open up and they have everything in place to kind of put them into a position depending on the type of housing that they're needing. We're well aware that in many instances people are coming into town in motorhomes or living out of their cars with children. And so in some instances, it's making sure that they're getting their kids enrolled into the school system and those types of things. So ideally, this is what we can do right now. If we can't get them into stable housing, is get them connected to the services that they're needing to start moving forward.
Thanks, Monica. And thanks again, Viviana.
Thank you.
All right, so Monica, back to you to talk about the SS1a Navigation Drop-In Center discussion.
Yes, so the SS1a seems very, technical or whatever you want to call it, but our Board of County Commissioners recently adopted their strategic plan. It was about a year-long process that they went through, and it involved the board as well as staff and then community partners also. And so through that process, they identified 5 different areas that they wanted to focus on, those being governance, infrastructure, economic development, environmental quality, and social services. And so the SS stands for social services. And then within these 5 areas, they identified different projects that they wanted to address. And there were tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 projects. And then within those tiers, there may have also been more than one project. And so the 1 stands for tier 1, and then the A stands for one of the 2 tier 1 projects that got identified. And that is a navigation or drop-in center. And so, we've all recognized that it's really hard when trying to engage somebody in services to have them have to go to one location and then say, okay, now you need to go down here and you need to work on getting this. And a lot of times, whether it's just the timing of it or whether it's just some sort of distraction, they might not make it to that next point. And so being able to have a single location that provides as many of these services as possible is critical in trying to keep that person engaged and getting them the help that they need. So one of the things that we have looked at is this drop-in center to have services such as public health, mental health, various things like foot health or dental health, as well as being able to provide them with showers and meals and a place to do laundry. In addition to those types of services, it's also really critical to be able to get, whether it's an ID or driver's license or social security card, employment opportunities. And so trying to have a one-stop shop sort of mentality for this facility. Of course, the difficulty is finding a facility. We were working with a community partner and we were really excited because it seemed like it would be a perfect fit. But unfortunately for them, it didn't work out to be something that they were able to do. So we are continuing to evaluate possibilities. I know that a common theme that has come up is, what is the county going to do with the old jail once they move out to Warrenton? And that is something that, we are going to be looking at. It's something that in this next fiscal year, we will be requesting the possibility of doing a feasibility study for what that old jail could be used for. I don't know how many of you have ever visited it either intentionally or unintentionally, but it is it is not the most user-friendly facility. And so in some instances, we want to make sure that the individuals who are coming here aren't having a negative experience. And so we are, we're going to take a look at it to see, one, can you do remodeling to it to be able to make it a usable facility? And if so, what type of use can it be? So that's one area that we're looking at. And then we're also just going to continue to look at other possible facilities that would be a good location for this. So if at any point in time anybody says, I happen to have this huge wide open space that we're looking for a use for, please reach out to us and let us know to see if it's a viable option. So that is the Social Services 1A project that we're going to be focusing on in this next year. Again, will it be up and running by the end of 21-22? Most likely not, simply because trying to find a facility to put it into. But it's steps that we're trying to put forward, so that way in the next year or two, we do have a facility that we can have being available to all of our populations countywide.
All righty. Thank you, Monica. Any questions about the new program, the goal? Members or guests? We're moving along pretty good here. So we do have some time if we have questions from anybody in the online.
Jeff, I have a question. I just jumped onto the meeting here, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi, Monica. It was good to hear from you. And it was, I just want to actually just take a moment to introduce the Beacon Clubhouse. I don't know if everybody knows what the Beacon Clubhouse is, but NAMI Clatsop, which stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, has planted this project, and I'm the director of that project. It is an outreach and advocacy and resource center for people who are navigating mental illness, and we work a lot with people who are living on the streets. We've done a lot of housing placement and job placement. We opened in June. It's good to hear that Cheryl Paul is taking on the new liaison position. She's currently working for the Beacon Clubhouse. She's been amazing. I'm really happy about that hire. And then we are taking referrals. We take mental health referrals from CBH and we have partners all through the community, CCA, Choices Counseling Treatment Corps we work with directly. So I just wanted to give that, I wanted to introduce that program on this format and just let everybody know that we exist. And then also to follow up on the drop-in center, I just wanted to remind you too, Monica, that Filling Empty Bellies has still continued to work towards that direction. And we've gotten some grant funding in the past year that's moving us closer to that goal. So just don't forget that Filling Empty Bellies is still there and hoping to partner with whatever drop-in center movement continues to develop, and that we're still doing the work that we have continued to do on the ground. So just don't forget about us, please, that we're still here and we're still trying really hard to meet some of those same goals. So
that sounds great, and I appreciate you sharing that information, Erin. And that's one thing that we're really trying to do. And I do attend a lot of the different meetings because there are a lot of groups out there who are trying to do great things, and we just want to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts of another organization, and we're not trying to spread the resources that are already so thin even more thin. So working with community partners such as Feeding Empty Bellies and the Beacon House and the warming shelter. And I know that Seaside has been working to also get a warming shelter in place. So we want to have those conversations as a larger group, so that way we can all work together.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Any other comments? If you either want to raise your hand or...
Barry's raising his hand.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Barry.
Okay, Barry. And then Ron, I see you next.
I can't hear you. You're muted. You're still muted.
Hello?
There you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment that right now at the warming center, when we have the people leave in the morning, they used to go to the library, and now because of the pandemic, it's even magnified the need for a drop-in center because they have no place to go. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And Barry, it looks like you're now unmuted. Back to you.
Okay. So comment to Monica, which is...
Can you bring your microphone down?
Yeah, this is a comment to Monica, which I think is going to sound harsh, but I think that calling something SS1a and then in the same sentence saying that, well, our deal fell apart and now we're looking at maybe 2022 is really a mischaracterization of where you stand with respect to the actual priority of the drop-in center, the actual need for it. And I think that you need to be more straightforward with your constituents about exactly, where you are with this and how much energy and investment you're really going to put into it, because we can walk away thinking, oh yeah, the county's behind a drop-in center, and then it just turns out to be a vacant promise that has no productive outcome. I mean, I'm far more interested in what Aaron's doing, which is real, than what the county says is some vacuous goal out into some unknown future. Can you be more straightforward with us?
Let you know that the 21-22 strategic plan, that this is the number one priority, and so it's part of the budget process, and there is funding that's going to be going towards it. And so when I say that the facility that we had planned to try and partner with fell through, that doesn't mean that we are dropping off as this being a number one priority to continue to move forward with. We're working on it now, and we'll continue to work on it in 21-22. These strategic plan goals were for driving the budget process for 21-22. So nothing has changed there. The unfortunate part is the fact that building fell through. So continuing the project, nothing has changed there. It's just we don't have an immediate facility, and that's not anything to do with the board not seeing it as a priority. It simply has to do with the availability of real estate and the partners that are willing to be able to help us find a location for that. So I can promise you that it's still a number one priority, and it's going to be moving forward as it currently is in the current year and into the 21-22 budget year. But I appreciate your feedback, and I commend Erin for the work that her and the Beacon House and NAMI are doing. And so we'll continue to work with them as well to move our project forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Anything else on that, Barry?
Well, I'm not satisfied with the answer, but it's pointless to continue.
So let me just point out also, these are goals established by the Clatsop County Commission. Those are our elected representatives at the county. So the Clatsop County Commissioners, under the leadership of the current chair, Commissioner Quayla, established these goals. And Commissioner Quayla had a conflict and couldn't join us today to talk about this. So the Assistant County Manager, Monica Steele, who's charged with executing the priorities of the elected county commissioners, is here to brief us on this project, and I appreciate her work. I don't think it's helpful at all to describe people's work as vacuous. I think there's a lot of people here that want to do good work. We're trying very hard to do good work, and let's just keep sharing information and coordinating with each other and make forward progress.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks for that, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Anybody else on this topic before we move to the next subject? Hand raise on your computer if you can. Okay, I see a virtual hand raised by Kathleen. And then
I'm trying to unmute. I just wanted to support Monica Steele. As you know, I worked on this strategic plan last year as a commissioner, and I know that the intention is there and the effort is there. And I really applaud all the work that Ms. Steele has done on this. And I know that the commissioners going forward are also committed to this. So, but the reality is the reality. I mean, real estate is what it is right now. And it doesn't mean that the intention isn't there, that the effort won't continue. So thank you very much, Monica, for all that you've done on this, as well as the board and as well as the other folks on the call. I know that Beacon Clubhouse and Feeding Empty Bellies have been working a long time on all this too. And I think that for me, one of the purposes of this meeting is for all of us to coordinate together and to put all of our energy together to get something for the community. It's not an ownership issue. It's something that we all are committed to helping the people that are most in need. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. And then I know, Brooke, you're up next. And then Annie, I have you up after that.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I haven't been here for about a year. I'm here representing Columbia Pacific CCO, and I'm very excited to see the progress that's happened in a year. I had a baby a year ago, so I was gone, and then it was COVID, and I missed our last one. So I'm excited to see you all. And since then, we at Columbia Pacific CCO have started a regional housing impact fund. We've started funding housing projects, both services and support. So we have a grant that's gone out to the Astoria Warming Center, and we also have a grant that went out to fund the Chelsea Gardens new housing development in Warrenton through NOHA. And we'd be interested in learning more about the drop-in center, and yeah, I'd love to connect. So just loop me in to those conversations, and we do have access.
Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate that. Annie?
So I just wanted to say thanks, Monica, for giving us all the information about this, and to keep us in mind. We'd really like to work with you on this. And I want to reiterate what Erin said on the fabulous work Filling Empty Bellies has been doing. We all need to work together. This is something that needs to happen. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annie.
Hey, Erin, would you do me a favor, just so I know your organization now? I know you have a new individual, Mr. Ozark, and what have you. What is your current structure, just so those that need to reach out to you guys, if it's at least for my benefit anyway, I'd be helpful.
Yeah. So I will remind everyone that we are Filling Empty Bellies. So if you Google us, it does need to be filling. I know that it seems to make more sense in most people's minds to be feeding, because we do feed people. But so Ozark Orick, who is on this call, is the new director of Filling Empty Bellies. He's actually done some fabulous work this year since taking it over. He has lived experience in this town, being on the streets and also being on the other side of it. So his position is really valuable. I think that lived experience is obviously really important when looking at this issue. So he brings a lot. And so he is the director. He would be the one that you would reach out to. I know he works, quite a bit actually directly. Hi, Kenny. He's worked a lot with Kenny Hansen, and others of you on this call. He also works part-time at the Astoria Warming Center. So he would be the contact from now on for Filling Empty Bellies. Although, because my heart and soul is in Filling Empty Bellies, I would still have information about the goings on of that. But he would be the contact person. And then I am the director of the Beacon Clubhouse, which is a project of NAMI Clatsop. And so I would be the touch point person for that. And that's really coming at it from the angle of addressing the mental illness piece and offering support for people who are dealing with mental illness and co-occurring substance abuse and homelessness. So I hope that answers that question, Jeff.
It does. It absolutely does. I appreciate that. And thank you. And Mr. Newton, I see you have a hand raised. I don't think you're just waving. So.
No, I don't know how many people on here are not elected officials. As a businessman, what I can do I decide where to go. I spend my money there. But the county, and the cities, when they lay out their budget, that's where they're going to go and focus in the next year. So basically, almost 2 years ago, it was decided what they would do this year. And so for the county to think they can do it in 21, 22 is really a rush order in government. And so I understand Monica's there, but most programs like that would be 5 years in development before they ever moved anywhere with any of the local governments. So Monica, you're doing a good thing if you can get 21, 22. So.
And I would just like to reiterate, Commissioner Newton, and it's not that we unfortunately think that we're going to be able to open something in 21, 22. We are working on finding a location. And so what we're going to be requesting in the budget is the feasibility of converting the existing jail into a navigation drop-in center. When we originally thought that we had a partnership in place with a local entity, we thought that the likelihood of being able to open a navigation center would have been a little sooner. But and that was work that's been happening over the last 8 months. But when I met with that group a couple weeks ago, it was learned just based on some things that they're trying to do, it wasn't going to be feasible. So that's where the shift has occurred. So
it's just that you set your goals, you set your direction, and you have to follow that direction. Because if you change your direction, then you'd have no direction in government. Because somebody comes to you and wants this, somebody comes and wants that. And if you don't follow what you've decided to do, pretty soon you're just running in circles, putting out fires is basically what you do. So I understand, Monica, how frustrating it can be trying to move anything fast. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we'll move on, seeing no other hands raised at this point. So I'm going to move forward to Ron Maxted, who'd like to talk a little bit about pallet shelters. And after Ron takes a couple minutes to talk about the pallet shelters, I'm going to transition to a short 3-minute video that explains what these are. So Ron, you are on, and let me know when you're ready for me to start that video.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. We are Opportunity Village. We're a subcommittee of this host organization, and we've been in existence for a little less than a year. And we have an opportunity to acquire a demonstration transitional home, and we would need to find a space for it to set. It could be on a parking lot or something like that. But then that would give us an opportunity to introduce to the community and to all of us what a transitional home could look like. This little video that we have from a group in Seattle has been producing these that seems like it could be a favorable model. It could be something, another model. But anyway, this will give you certainly an idea of what a transitional home looks like. Just a little more information on Opportunity Village. We started out with about 21 members. We did a demonstration from a group in Eugene that presented their Opportunity Village and their transitional housing project, and has given us some guidance. And what we're looking for now is a nonprofit to sister with, to be able to use their nonprofit status for fundraising. And so we are in I think a great position right now of the possibility of actually being able to purchase one of these models through funding that hopefully might be there. And so we'd like to just take the opportunity to show you what a Opportunity Village or Opportunity Housing would look like, and the possibility of us going forward would be finding a place for it to sit, and then maybe like on Saturdays having open houses, having the community come and look at it, and that would give us a opportunity to garner support for Opportunity Village, and also support for the homeless population that might be able to live in such a quarter. So Jeff, if you want to play that video, we can see. There she is.
Okay, I'm going to start up now. I don't know for 100% sure if I share this, if it'll also share the audio. So for those of you that can't see it or don't hear it, the website, yes.
When you go to share it, there's going to be a special button that you click that says share audio.
Oh, okay.
You can't go back if you get it wrong. I've learned from experience.
Okay, so I'm going to hit play and see what happens, and then I'll stop it for a second, see if I'm doing it.
I'm Amy King, CEO and founder of Palette. I'm excited to show you.
Can you guys hear that? Okay, I see a couple head nods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of our shelter today. One thing to note for you, this unit is missing its front wall and front door. That is intentional so that you can see inside. Normally our shelters have a really beautiful front wall with a locking door, which is really important. People experiencing homelessness and displaced by disaster need the security of knowing that their things and their people are safe. So we have included a locking door that we can't show you here. A couple important things to note about this unit. Structurally, it comes in a panelized form on a shipping pallet. So we can get about 32 of these of this size in a single trailer. So max capacity at scale to get as many people out of the elements as possible. The units go together in about 30 minutes with no tools required. They go together super fast with a very small team. As you can see, each of the panels is individually manufactured here in the shop. So if you have any damage or issues with any of the panels, we can replace just the panel instead of the entire unit. The units are made of a material that is mold, mildew, and rot resistant and totally organic. They're also pest resistant, which is really important when working with people experiencing homelessness. All of them are also cleanable, sterilizable, which is especially important right now during COVID, so that you can cycle multiple people through the same unit and get a higher ROI on your investment. Another really important feature to note is this floor. This is a structural floor that includes an aluminum structural members that can go right on the ground. We put these units on grass, gravel, concrete, anywhere. You can literally set up a pallet community in a matter of hours. You can put together a shelter in a matter of minutes and put an entire community together in a day if you'd like. A couple other really important features that we want to make you aware of. If you come inside, you can see that this is a very comfortable unit. So it includes beds. These bunk beds fold up and out of the way during the day and latch so that there's more room to move around. You can also drop them down at night for sleeping. And we include the mattresses and you can add your own bedding and all of that. A couple other important features to note. We have shelves for storing your things, which is really important so that people can keep their things with them and feel like they have their own place. We also have electrical panels that can be connected to existing infrastructure or be added to, you can add solar power or connect to generators, whatever you have available. Our units also contain air conditioning units, which we don't have one here, but this is what this hole is for, and a heater as well, so that you can have individual temperature control for comfort. Additionally, our units are meant to be safe and secure. So as I mentioned, they would have a locking door. They have opening windows that lock when they're closed, but can open for airflow inside. We also have, every unit includes a fire extinguisher, a smoke detector, which is hardwired, and CO monitor. We can also do that battery operated if you're not going to connect to power. And then we also have, really importantly down here, an egress hatch. This is if there happens to be a fire in your unit in front of the door. This is a secondary way to get out, and this can be kicked out quickly, and someone can slide out without any issue. Additionally, we have other options for ventilation. We have a venting ridge roof cap that opens up so that hot air can go out and cool air can come in. It's very important for people to be comfortable and feel like they're in control of their environment. So overall, those are all the various features of our unit that I wanted to share with you. If you'd like to learn more about our units and how they can work in your city or county, please reach out to our team and we'll be happy to set up a personal meeting or answer any questions you have. Please let us know how we can help.
So hopefully you guys could hear that and see it. If you couldn't and you want to see it again or get any more information, you go to palletshelter.com and you can navigate to that link. Ron, back to you to close that up.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So that's what's on the horizon. So the thing that we'll be up with is where to put it and the sponsorship and going forward. And of course, the Opportunity Village would be responsible for once it's up and conducting open houses and that sort of thing and going forward. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate you bringing that to the group. All right, so moving into some of our homeless related activity, turn over to Amy Baker with CBH.
Thanks, Chief Spalding. Obviously, I'm Amy Baker with CBH. I think this has been partially addressed today, but I want to remind folks about this because I think it influences our willingness to tackle the problem that really it's not substance abuse issues and mental illness that are creating the homeless issue. What's creating the homeless issue is the fact that 30% of our rentals in this community require more than 30% require people to spend more than 30% of their income on rent. And there was a study that was completed by Zillow that showed that once that happens in communities, then the homelessness starts to expand exponentially. And that is the challenge that we're seeing in Clatsop County. And of course, the challenge for us is that often the first folks who become homeless are the ones who are the most vulnerable in their housing situations. And that is often people who have substance use disorders and mental illness. And also to remind that it's almost impossible to participate in treatment services when you're homeless, because your number one priority is basic needs of food and shelter. And so if we wait for people to get treatment services to house them, we will wait forever. And that the cities that have successfully tackled this know that they have to start with a housing first model. From Clatsop Behavioral Healthcare's perspective, we are currently pursuing offering transitional housing / shelter for people who have serious mental health issues. We very much appreciate the resources that exist now, but for folks who have mental health issues, dormitory style shelter is not going to work for them. And so having individual rooms that feel safe and the program is staffed, I think is going to be critical. And I have something in the works currently, but I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't want to jinx it. So stay tuned on that. The second piece, of course, is that transitional housing is great, but what we really need is permanent supported housing. There has to be the next step for folks to go to. And permanent supported housing is a deficit in this community. We really don't have it. And what I mean by that is that we have housing that has staffing attached to it to ensure that we're helping folks out when they're struggling, and that we're able to mitigate the situations that would potentially lead to somebody being evicted and doing everything we can to prevent that. What I can tell you is that the whole issue around housing has been a oversight dating back to 1963 when the Community Mental Health Act was passed by the Kennedy administration, and in the attempt to deinstitutionalize people with mental health issues. And they never funded the housing component of what's needed in order to help folks with serious mental health issues. And so that is a situation that we are currently dealing with. That being said, there is funding out there to develop said housing. I think the big thing, and Ron is certainly experiencing this too, is going to be where do we put it? And how do we address the issue of, that's great, we love it, sounds like a great idea, but I don't want it next to my house. And that, from my perspective, that is going to probably be the biggest challenge that we face. And that's what I hope this group can help pave the way for, that if we're going to do this, and I am fully committed to that, we are going to need assistance with, it's not like there aren't plenty of empty buildings out there, and spaces and places to develop this. It's really the willpower to make it happen. So that's kind of what we're working on at this point in time.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Any questions of Amy?
Commissioner Sullivan, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate your input. I also think that I've been thinking about the possibility of this group too. There's a lot of people on this call, and some of the work that needs to be done person to person in terms of how do we challenge the stigma that's attached to the most vulnerable. When the NIMBY idea of I don't want them in my neighborhood is attached in my mind to a stigma that somehow it's dangerous to have somebody with a brain disorder in your neighborhood. And I don't think that's fair. So we need to, just like we need to work on racism, we need to work on stigma that's attached to addiction disorders and brain disorders and mental health issues. And I know that the city is taking on a big task of looking at their building codes and trying to increase density in our neighborhoods, which is one way to help all of this. And that too we need person to person to talk to people. Hey, you know what? If you really want to help, this is what's going to happen. And you're going to have to support it. And you're going to have to find a way to support it. And it's just opening our minds and reading and getting acquainted with things. Because it is possible. And the other thing that I'll end with is people do recover from addiction disorders. People do recover from mental health. And it's we don't have a stigma against people that have something wrong with their pancreas and have diabetes. And we don't shun people that have had cardiac surgery. And so we need to get into the 21st century with brain disorders. And I think that that's something that this group can do, working with our families and our neighbors, and whatever I can do to help, let me know, Amy. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Kathleen.
All right, Councilor Rocket.
Well, I just wanted to express my my total agreement with everything that Amy just said. All the research I've read has said basically the same thing, that housing first is what makes everything else possible and makes all the other services able to do what they can do. I once remarked to Kevin when he was here that I think the thing that we all say is that, well, we really are in awe of what you've done. Of course, you're in a larger city where there's more opportunity to provide housing and so on. And I got an almost audible eye roll from Kevin, who said, when we started, we had nothing. And he is willing, and I would like to make this pitch again, he's willing to come back and talk to us specifically about what they did to create housing opportunities. And I think that's an opportunity we ought to take advantage of so we can focus on that. The background to everything everyone has said today is that we don't have any housing stock. And we have a lot of agencies here with, I think, collective muscle, including our governmental agencies. If we recognize that that is the problem, maybe we can all turn ourselves to finding the solution to that first. We can build other things. We can build arenas. We can build fairgrounds. We can build jails. Why can't we build housing if we have to have housing? think that's it for me.
Chief, can I comment? So
yeah, of course.
One thing that I was asked to talk about was the goal that the board had adopted for the drop-in center. And so I just wanted to add that under the infrastructure goal, another goal that they are working on is housing strategies. And so we have been, all of the cities in the county a couple of years ago did a housing study. And then each jurisdiction has kind of taken that information and evaluated it and evaluated what they might want to do based on that for their specific jurisdiction. So Clatsop County has been evaluating it, and we have also been working with a consultant in the current fiscal year to see what sort of viable options there might be. We have, in those meetings, we have spoken with low-income housing developers, one of which is the organization that's working with the Merwin, and what sort of barriers they see for us as a county to being able to provide affordable housing. So that is something that we've been working on, and we're moving forward with that project. And that's something that we're going to be budgeting for in the next fiscal year as well. And just trying to, some of it is code and zoning, what can be allowed, and what changes need to occur to be able to allow more dense housing. And then also what sorts of things need to be put in place to draw in those low-income developers. So does that mean that not only changing some of those zoning requirements, but also some of those building requirements? Because when you have different things like the parking for a apartment facility has to be covered. Well, that increases the cost to develop, and that makes it less appealing to a low-income developer to try and make housing there. Other things are, what sorts of incentives might there be if there's available land, which is something that the county has done in some instances with our tax foreclosures. Is there a way that we can take that tax foreclosed land and draw in low-income developers with that? So we've been having those meetings, and then in the next year, we're going to further evaluate what can be done to take advantage of some of those zoning changes and or tax foreclosed lands. So that's speaking from the county, some of the work that's being done to try and address the housing issue, recognizing that a lot of low-income housing most likely isn't going to happen in the unincorporated area, which is the jurisdiction that the county has control over, because to build in the unincorporated area, it's more difficult to build affordable housing because of the lack of infrastructure out there. So we're working on it, and I know that that this is something that the cities are working on. And then also one thing that we have been working on is trying to build a housing inventory. And previously she participated in some of these meetings, but Lauren Wilson was working for the county, and she started on that. Unfortunately, she left the county in September, and then it took a little time. But we now have somebody who's picking that project back up and working with Clatsop Community Action, as well as some other organizations, to try and figure out, okay, what is the housing availability that we have, and what is the rates of those housing? So is it above market? Is it market? How far below market? Those sorts of things. So that is also some work that's being done to try and figure out how we can tackle this housing issue.
Thank you, Monica. All right, any other, Erin, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Amy Baker. Like usual, she was spot on, and I just agree with everything that she was saying and the work that they're doing over there at CBH. So I appreciate that. In terms of the housing first model, I know, like in theory, it works, and if you can read about it and it works, but honestly, on the ground too, it works. Between the clubhouse and filling empty bellies, we've individually placed I think between 7 and 10 people in the last year into housing, and we've used some of our funds to pay for rental deposits and to get them going on their rent. And it's been 100%. They are still housed, and it's been that much easier then to connect them with the services that they need for sustainability, like mental health, making it to their open door appointments at CBH, making it to their parole appointments and their treatment appointments, because they have a place to lay their head at night and they have a place that's safe. And all of these services that we have here in our county are amazing and in our community are amazing. But when somebody is going, leaving the Beacon Clubhouse or leaving the drop-in center or leaving CBH for the day, and they're just trying to go make sure they're not going to get ticketed for sleeping on the street, or get assaulted on the street or freeze through the night, that's where we hit the hard spot. So that housing first model, I just want to reiterate from a firsthand experience and on the ground experience, it works. I hope that is something that we continue to move towards. And I just appreciate, Amy, that you guys are looking at that and that you're looking at putting funds towards that, individual shelters. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Hi. I just wanted to sort of add to what Aaron and Amy were saying, that a lot of the stigma around mental health also extends to our domestic violence and sexual assault survivors, a lot of whom are obviously experiencing mental health problems and also some substance use, but then some of them who are not, and just a lot of that stigma of people not wanting somebody who's been through what they've been through in their backyard or in their building or what have you. And so we do often, even when there is money available, which there has been, we often have a hard time placing folks in hotels or even in housing that they could get permanently, because people don't want domestic violence survivors in their buildings. And so just to sort of add that piece that, yes, there is a problem obviously with the space, but then even when there is space and there is money, there's that stigma issue is huge. And we face that a lot as well with our clients. And just to know also, we have a ton more clients that are trying to get away from these situations, and a lot of whom have ended up going back just because there's nowhere for them to go. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Thanks, Terry. Ron?
Yeah, could I just add that, we do have a effective organization right now. Astoria Warming Center at one time was allowed to operate for 120 days. And during that time of no restrictions and operating 120 days, we were able to see how that effect was. We had some kids were able to enlist in going back to school, other people getting jobs. So we do have that organization that is there, and we have corrected our misgivings that caused us to be restricted. But to expand our Astoria Warming Center's time frame would be something that would be helpful in this whole battle. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. All righty, so pressing on, looks like I'm next on the agenda to talk a little bit about calls for service and the 9th Street Park activity. I'll just say we are still tracking homeless-related calls for service. On the plus side, the calls are still down. On the downside, there's still a lot of them. In 2020, we had 786 calls for service, which was down from the previous year. That averages about 65 calls per month. This year, in the 2 months of history we have so far, there's about 89 calls, which averages about 45. So that's about 20 less per month, which is good. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different factors. There's weather related, and sometimes that plays into it. But nonetheless, the calls are on the downside, which I'd like to believe is a good sign, and hopefully will continue. I shared with council last month some concerns that we had at 9th Street Park. And this was brought to our attention through many of the business owners. We noticed a significant uptick in calls in that particular area. So I'm just going to share a couple of slides real briefly, and then I'll explain why I'm even talking about this topic in terms of our philosophy. So there was a whole list of types of activity that we were seeing at this particular location. And this is 910 Astor, which is 9th Street Park at the almost at the dead end of 9th Street. It's just a little small grassy area. Hard to even call it a park on some level, but it is. So seeing a lot of things that we were getting calls from. So we wanted to ensure that we validated what we were seeing there. So we reached out to several of the business owners in the area. And I think we contacted 12 business owners. Our homeless liaison, Kenny Hansen, who's also on this call, went out there and spoke with them individually, got their feedback. And I believe there was around 10 out of 12 that had some significant concerns with what was going on in the area there. So we also took a look at the calls for service there. And also we had information on emails that our city councilors and our mayor were getting, along with other emails that were being received by the police department. So for us, it was really a no-brainer that we had a problem there. And so, one of the things I presented to council was our approach, of course, is to take a stronger presence and enforce some of the violations. I know for some, that is offensive that we are taking an aggressive approach on individuals that are homeless. But what I shared with the council meeting is that we are not targeting homeless, even though some people believe we are. We are targeting bad behavior occurring in that area. So it doesn't matter, whether you're affluent or whether you're homeless or what walk of life you come from. If you are creating a disturbance or you're, consuming alcohol or whatever that looks like in that particular area, there's a good chance that you're going to have a contact by a police officer. Now, I can tell you, since that meeting with council, we've shared this information with our officers, but we haven't really stepped it up, and for a couple reasons. Number one is we've been a little bit shorthanded. We have a couple officers in the academy, and one was injured. However, I will also say that over the past few weeks, we've noticed that there has been a pretty significant downtick in calls in that particular area. What we do attribute that to, there were two individuals that many of the people in this chat room are familiar with that are no longer in the area for a couple of reasons. I'm not going to share the names, but I know many of you know who I'm talking about. And they were generating a significant amount of the calls in that area. But when we have 3 significant aggravated assault type cases in that area involving weapons, then, and the kind of activity we're seeing and it's impacting businesses in our area, we know it's time that we need to address some of these issues. The last thing I'll say about that is that, our approach is, when we say enforcement, it's holding people accountable. And if that means that we're issuing somebody a citation, we know in all reality that what that's going to do is hopefully start getting people into services. And if we don't really have an ability to take people to jail, because they would simply be released simply because, especially during COVID times, but because of COVID and also because of there's more serious offenses that the jail has to hold. So taking someone to jail is not an option, nor do we consider that as a good option. So oftentimes our recourse is to issue a citation, and we know that individuals don't have the means to pay for it. And that's why we've had the conversations in the past with looking at alternative sentencing and trying to make individuals who are responsible for some of the behavior part of the solution rather than part of the problem. So anyway, again, our philosophy really is, if I could ask you guys to mute your phones, I'm hearing some background.
Ron, and he stepped away from his desk.
Oh, okay.
If you're the host,
yeah, let me see if I can unshare this and.
I think you could just sit there and then I'll put the other one on top of it. Oh. And then cut the hole and.
All right, stand by. I think I am going to.
There, you got it.
Okay, all right. So Let me go back to the share screen here and all right. Hopefully you guys, this just kind of, I lost my train of thought there. Apologize for that. You guys still see my screen? There's 4 little heat maps. Okay, so this just gives you a sense of the kind of activity. This is a relatively new feature. I'm still learning through our vendor that provides our computer-aided dispatching software. The top left shows the heat maps where we're having the most activity, a 1/10 mile in and around the 9th Street Park. So I picked 3 other areas along the Riverwalk that just to compare the activity, just so you can see in the same time period. So again, the numbers, speak for themselves in terms of, how much activity we have down there. But I think what I was talking about again is our approach is that we do understand that sometimes taking enforcement activity does help get people into services. And, that's, again, we get back to our relationships and working with, people like CCA and CBH and all the other 3-letter acronyms that, we can hopefully address this issue in the bigger scheme of things. And so that's why we're really looking forward to working closely with CCA and our new homeless liaison positions. So I know I went through that pretty fast, and I think I'll just turn over to Kenny real quick. I just want to make sure if you want to make any comments on that, Kenny, or if you're seeing anything recently in terms of activity in that area.
Our calls are definitely down in the area. There hasn't been as many people around. A lot of it's weather related. They don't come out as much during inclement weather. And that I have noticed the last couple of nights I've been working night shift that trash and things like that are starting to accumulate again. We had a person who was unhoused in the community. She was taking it upon herself to help clean up that area, and I think she's down in the seaside area now. And so something I'm going to try, it's helped in the past, is just stopping and talking to the people that frequent the park and remind them that they need to pick up after themselves. And we'll see where that goes. A lot of times that's all I need is a reminder to pick up things, and they usually do.
Thanks, Kenny. And I welcome any questions, concerns, thoughts. I'm more than happy to speak to any of that.
I'll just say that we really appreciate it from the Downtown Association, Chief. That is an area that tends to go in and out of flux pretty regularly. And just we anticipate so many people, we anticipate a pretty heavy tourism season. We also anticipate a lot of those people are going to want to be outside. So, public benches and public trash cans and things like that, they're used by everybody, are going to be taxed. But I appreciate you engaging in that area.
All right. Thank you, Charlotte. I appreciate that. And if anybody else has any comments that they'd rather not share in a group setting, please do feel free to email me, or you can always call me as well. I'm happy to talk to anybody about these things.
So I walked through 9th Street by there the other day, and I noticed that the trash cans that are there were full. So I think one thing that would be really facilitative of them cleaning up the trash is if there's enough trash cans to put it in. And I've noticed that also at various places along the Riverwalk where the trash cans are full, and in front of the Maritime Museum, the trash cans are full. So I think that would really help a lot. And also Filling Empty Bellies was providing lunches at People's Park, and it's my understanding that they were asked to move to 9th Street Park, which is a smaller park. It puts people closer together that aren't necessarily in the same tribes. It focuses energy there, which is closer to businesses. So I don't know the reason that they were asked to move, but that has contributed to the situations that you're now finding there at 9th Street.
So filling Empty Bellies moved on our own accord. for lots of different reasons. One of them being is the anticipation of a remodel of People's Park for the Scandinavian park. So we moved for that reason. We also moved to get a little bit, less exposed right there on 101. And we're also closer to some of the restaurants that support us, because our participants sometimes pick up pizzas from Sahara to feed for lunch, and they're on foot. So there were quite a few reasons that we chose to move. It wasn't because we were necessarily asked to. We had been talking with Jonah, about the timing of the park remodel, and we just didn't want to show up one day and have the park torn up and not have anywhere to go. So we were being proactive in that way. But yeah, I'd be remiss to say that, obviously filling empty bellies, we do services there, we serve there. We have had, the garbage situation has been an ongoing challenge. It seems that the cans are full a lot at 9th Street. They were full a lot at People's Park. Again, this is something I've talked with Jonah and Chief Spalding about at different times, how we can get a grip on the garbage. I think my computer froze when Kenny was talking, but I think Kenny said something about just going and talking with the folks at 9th Street. I know that Filling Empty Bellies has been talking a lot with the participants and the people that hang out at 9th. We just go and we tell them what's going on. And we tell them, hey, there was an article in the newspaper and people are upset, and hey, things need to change or we will get kicked out of here and we won't have our services here. And usually people are pretty responsive to that. And I think that could be one reason why things have calmed down a little bit, because we have been talking a lot about how important it is. But yeah, I just, I have to say, Filling Empty Belly, yes, we moved our program there. It possibly is a reason why there's more action there. We are always open and willing to work with Chief Spalding and Kenny daily. I have Kenny on speed dial. So we want to work with you guys. We really do. And we want to work with our participants, and we want to, fill that role of advocating on both sides and trying to figure out the best option to get a handle on the activity there at 9th. So.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate those comments. Ron, we're going to hold the comments. We're starting to run out of time here. Joan, I'd like to give you an opportunity if you want to say anything about the arrangement or the trash can issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, as most people are aware, Recology has included all of the parks and Riverwalk trash cans for cleanup or pickup or emptying through their franchise agreement with the city. And I just confirmed, as I was looking back through my emails, that we're having them pick up 6 days a week along the Riverwalk. So they're doing their best. It's obviously, I don't think it's anything unique to people at 9th Street Park, but it's a people problem too. When people are next to a trash can, even if it seems to be full, or if there's a pizza box or a to-go container blocking maybe the orifice, making it seem full, that people say, well, the next best thing is to put the garbage right next to it or on top of it or to the side of it or nearby anyway. So it's just a kind of constant challenge with public garbage cans in general. But I would say everybody is trying to do their best to pick up and clean sites. And obviously, when you get a large volume of trash at any particular location, Parks Department tries to be very responsive and do the best we can to pick that up. We also have a very limited staff too. So there are definitely times when there's more trash in parks than we would like to see. And that goes across our whole park system. But yeah, we're completely appreciative that it's a challenging topic to have for garbage in general. And yeah, we do our best to clean up there. And I would not say it's particular to any one group of people that cause more litter necessarily.
Thank you, Jonah. So we're going to move into member roundtable. Before I do that, Mayor, I'd like to give you an opportunity if you'd like to say something at the beginning or after the roundtable.
I'll just wait till the end.
Okay, great. So first, I would like to recognize Cheryl Paul. Looks like she is signed into our meeting. She is one of the new selected individuals for a new liaison position. So Cheryl, I would like to make this first welcome to this group, and we really look forward to working with you. Okay, so member roundtable. So this is an opportunity for any of our members to just share anything that's not part of the regular agenda. Any other news, thoughts, things that we should be considering for future agendas? And then we'll open it up to guest comments.
This is Jared. From the hospital, I just wanted to let everyone know that we are currently working on a plan to recruit a psychiatric nurse practitioner to help join our team and help be a prescriber for medications, help out not only our primary care physicians with managing these clients, but also the community at large. So we're currently working on recruiting for this role. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared. Any other members roundtable? Kate.
Hi, thanks. Just really appreciated the conversation, and a couple of times we have touched on this intersection between public safety, policing, and the needs of people in crisis of some kind, mental health or substance. And I wondered if anywhere within this group folks are considering the potential that could come out of the current House Bill 2417 that creates a program to provide matching grants to cities or counties to operate mobile crisis intervention teams. Wondering if this is a possibility to expand, a possibility for our communities to expand use of behavioral health specialists in that response in collaboration with the respective public safety agencies.
So this is Monica with the county, and I will say that that is a bill that we're monitoring. We have PAC West, our lobbyist, working on our behalf. And I don't know if Amy wants to comment on it, but she presented to the board the other night, and something that she said is so true. And so that kind of depends on, one, if this bill passes, and two, what the funding mechanisms look like. Because the unfortunate part that we're dealing with is, and Amy can correct me if I get it wrong, is we are a rural community who has urban problems with rural funding. And so while a lot of good can come from this bill, it kind of depends on what they end up funding to those rural communities to be able to do something with. But it is something that we're monitoring closely.
I think just to follow up to that, I think that communities that have done well with this is that I think like co-response or cahoots is a really good model, and it's really important. And there are still pieces that we need, such as a place for people to go. Like a lot of the crises that are driven by some of the homeless activities have more to do with the fact that people don't have a place to go. And so I think as we move forward on this, there's not like one piece that we have to put together. We have to create a system, essentially, that we can move people through, and that we're going to want all of those things in order to successfully address people who are in crisis and to move folks out of homelessness. I think that's otherwise you get one piece, but it doesn't fix the whole of the problem. And I apologize, I have to step off the meeting. I have another meeting at 11:50. But I just want to say I really appreciated the conversation today. Thank you all.
Thanks, Amy. Appreciate it. Okay, last call on roundtable from members. Brooke.
Cheryl Paul just texted me and said she's at work. She's working for me at the clubhouse, but she wanted me to tell you all hello and that she's listening, but that she's on the call, but can't talk.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, Erin.
Chief, if I may, I just checked with, sorry, my camera is a really particular individual. I just checked with the Merwin, and they at this time are just a little over half full. And there are probably a few more applications that could be put in and still make it in the wait list. So let us know. You can contact them directly, or you can let us know and we can put you in touch.
Well, thank you, Sarah Lou. Okay. Did I miss anybody?
This is Brooke Stanley with Columbia Pacific CTO. We're helping host, you probably all have heard about Resilient Clatsop County Network. It's a trauma-informed care network. Many of your organizations are part of it. And I just wanted to remind you all, we have a launch event coming up on April 6th from 1 to 3 p.m. I can send an email out as well, but as you all are probably well aware, childhood trauma and trauma in general are associated with homelessness and are a good cause. And so all of our agencies are linking up in a trauma-informed care network called Resilient Clatsop County. And if you're not part of it or don't know about it, you can reach out to me. There's no chat in this room, but I can put out an email.
Hey, Brooke, you were broken up a bit there. I think we got probably half of what you said, but I do have some materials that Amber sent me. So I will send those out to the group if you're good with that. That work? Okay, thank you. Okay, so any of our guests, please do a hand raise or a virtual hand raise. If you can't find the button, I'll do the best I can to recognize you. Ron. Unmute, Ron. Ron, if you can unmute, if you're hearing me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment from the litter patrol from the warming center, which we patrol on a regular basis once a week. And we've been finding trash cans full by the library all the time, and a lack of other receptacles that could certainly be distributed around that would help us pick up a lot of litter. So the trash can issues, I know it's an ongoing thing, but it seems like we need more trash cans, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. I know there's a lot of people on the call here that heard you and are aware and have the ability to hopefully do something about that. So thank you. Teresa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Barnes. I'm a past volunteer and current employee of the Warming Center. So we have a whole Warming Center crew here today. I know a lot of you, and good to meet the rest of you. I've been wanting to come to these meetings for a while. So I guess I have a few questions. I'm just wondering, I would love to be a member of this group. I don't know what that process looks like. And just thinking of the protocol, I'm wondering are the meetings open to the public is one question. And then also wondering, since I'm new to the group, do we have anyone that is currently experiencing homelessness in the group, or have we sought out those voices? Because I know a lot of us in the group work with this population, but I know that for me, I've been working with a woman who has been unhoused for 16 years. She had a marijuana charge when she was 19 and has been unhoused ever since getting out of prison. And some of the stuff that she's been telling me has really opened my eyes to, I totally love and agree with so much of what has been said here. Yes, supportive housing. Yes, housing is a right. And I'm so glad that we're moving toward a resource center. But I'm also just thinking about, as has been acknowledged by many people here, that, even if it moves at lightning speed for government, that's still really slow for people that are living out of their car. This woman is living out of her car and working multiple jobs while also trying to solve homelessness, And so I think that I just hope that we keep in mind that there are lots of things. I don't want us to feel like that we have to solve the housing crisis before we can do anything. And, I don't mean to tell you guys anything you don't already know, but some of the stuff that she said is, having a place to take daily showers, having a place to get mail, having a place to charge your phone, having a place to store your stuff. Everything from just free to pretty inexpensive solutions they're not the what I want to be our end goal, but I just, the warming center is closed in a week. And as a lot of us have talked about, our population doesn't really have anywhere to go after that. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Teresa, I know you threw a lot of questions out there, so I'm going to try and answer them. So first off, as far as representation from homeless individuals, we don't have anybody as a member on the group that is part of the homeless community per se. However, with that being said, over the past 3 years, I know we have had several individuals come and have had an opportunity to speak at some of our meetings. And I think that's been valuable. And I know, Kenny Hansen over there has done a good job of having some people come and talk. And I think it's been informative to the group. So we have done that. I know of at least 3. We've had Vern. I know we had the other individual that moved to Hawaii, and I forget his name, but we've had some representation. And along those lines, the other answer to your question is the group is open to anybody. It's a public meeting, so anybody can sign on as a guest. And as I offered earlier, if you send me your email address, I'd be more than happy to add you to the guest list, and then I'll inform you of meetings. As far as the actual membership goes, when we started this group, we wanted to do our best to ensure that we have representation from as many groups as possible in the community that are impacted by this concern. And so, for the most part, we generally have one person from each organization. In this particular case, we actually have 2 from the Warming Center. So with, Annie and Kathleen. So, but at the end of the day, the mayor is the one that sets the roster. And so I would defer any additions to the mayor. So hopefully I've answered all your questions.
Yes, Chief Spalding, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mayor, you want to add anything to that? Or?
No, we welcome any individual or organization who's actively working with these issues. I think in regards to whether, we want to set a limit of how many people from one individual organization, whether we want to have three members of or employees or board members from the Warming Center as members, or just have you continue to attend as a welcome guest, we can discuss that. We've tried to not get too formal with the rules in this group as far as we don't have bylaws written up. We don't have Robert's Rules of Orders that we're, formally following. So we haven't really answered that question, but in the meantime, you're certainly very welcome to continue attending. And I know Chief will get you on the mailing list, the email list.
Yeah, and
if there's another group that should be part of this that's not, let us know so that we can invite them to have a representation.
Thank you, Mayor. And just lastly, Teresa, I would say that, in every meeting I've been to, which is all of them, that, we've never silenced anybody. And, with the time allows, everybody has had an opportunity to address the group at the meeting. So like the mayor said, there is an informality to the group, and, we do welcome opinions from everybody. All righty, let's see. Annie, I think you.
I just had one addition then to our group, because we don't have a representative from Filling Empty Bellies, not officially. So that's never been on our group. So that would be a good thing. I think we need that representation.
Okay.
I would recommend inviting Ozark to be a member, because not only is he the new director, but he also has lived through homelessness and he's on the other side of it. So it would be a really unique and valuable voice.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Annie. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that would be fine. And we will invite, you can consider this an invitation for Filling Empty Bellies to have representation. So it doesn't look like Ozark is still here. It looks like he stepped out.
He went to go serve lunch. So yeah, he stepped out, but I'll let him know, and I appreciate that. And thank you, Annie.
Okay. So, it looks like we're winding down here. This time I've done something a little different and actually put a date on the calendar for our next meeting of May 6th, 10 o'clock in the morning. Most likely it will be a Zoom meeting again. If that works for the mayor's calendar, I will send out an advance notice. But this way, again, I apologize to those that didn't get this until a couple days ago, as far as some of our guests. I'm trying to fix that. So I'm announcing the next meeting now, 2 months out on May 6th, and more information to come. I've got a few things I'll be sending out to all of the members and guests via email. So again, if you're not on our list, please make sure you get that to me. And then lastly, Mayor, any final closing comments?
No, I just want to thank everybody for their participation and taking time out of their busy days, 2 hours out of your day today. I think there's a lot of reason for optimism. The description given of the 2 individuals who've been hired for the liaison position, it sounds very promising. Talked to people that were on the selection committee, and they feel these are going to be really good candidates or good people in that position, and really exciting for what those 2 full-time positions can do for our community in the coming months and years. And I also just want to thank the County Commission for having prioritized Navigation Drop-In Center as a #1 priority, and for Ms. Steele for all the work that she's doing to try to figure out a way to execute it. And also for noting that, for Viviana, noting that, this position will evolve with needs. So it's not, written in stone exactly what the job description is forever. If we find out that there needs to be more effort in one way or another to meet the needs of the homeless population and the community, then that there'll be flexibility to improve it as it goes. So I think there's a lot of promise there. And also there were several organizations who specifically raised their hands and said, hey, we want to be part of that. We can help you find funding. We can help with that job. So I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. So thank you, everybody, for today.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. And last comment I'll say is thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, guests and our members. This is the best attended meeting we've probably had in 3 years. I think we're almost 100% participation, minus 1 or 2 people that couldn't make it. So I don't know, maybe this is the wave of the future, doing it through this format. So I do appreciate people's patience with my technological challenges and getting through this, but I felt we had a good meeting today, and look forward to progress in future meetings. So everybody take care, stay healthy, and look forward to talking to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks. See you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.